The first story I want to talk about today is the media. And of course, I talk about it all the time. I mention it here and there, but I'm going to step outside of politics. So whether you love or hate Trump, whether you're Democrat, Republican, really hear what I'm saying, because I'm talking about the entire media as the whole. Mostly liberal media, to be honest, because they control almost everything when it comes to television. They control the celebrity culture. They control social media pretty much at this point. And I'm going to include Fox News too. So it's mostly liberal, but it is conservative. But outside of the whole politics of the media, I want to talk about the media in the sense of why I think they're so negative, harmful, and dangerous. Because here's my personal perspective outside of politics and the presidency. One leader, one person is not going to change the world. One leader and one person, one president, one politician is not going to change the course of society and humanity. They definitely might impact it, of course, but we create the future simultaneously. The hundreds of millions of thoughts and actions that we do, not Trump, not Obama, not that person. It's our minds moving. We project and manifest reality based on how we feel. So on that note, if the media controls 100 million minds or 200 million minds, because they're constantly bringing us the news cycle, telling us how to feel, what to think, if they make 200 million people negative, depressed, and this goes right or left, I don't care what news you're watching, if they make you feel fearful, they make you feel scared, they make you depressed, they make you angry, they make you divided. You see all these words I'm using, they're not positive words. I'm not saying happy, grateful, optimistic. These are things that you want to be. If I controlled the media, if I was Time Warner, if I was Rupert Murdoch, if I was either left, right spectrum, 95% media that runs everything, I couldn't, under my own conscience, I would never ruin humanity with fear, negativity, division, hate, pessimism. But these are the things that the mainstream media does. And what bothers me so much about it is not the fact that Trump or Obama did something, and it's the fact that I know that one person doesn't change the world. I know what Trump and Malcolm X are talking about, because the world is going to be changed by all of our collective thoughts and actions and manifestations. I'll give you one example. There's a reason that the polls are not as accurate as you would think they are. Traditionally, polls and media coverage has not been to predict the election, it's been to shape the election, because before internet, they controlled the minds of the masses completely, so you had no other way of doing anything outside of their spectrum. I'll give you an example. Ron Paul was running as a Republican. He was pretty popular, but they didn't talk about him and they didn't give him coverage to the point where he disappeared. Was it because he wasn't popular or well-loved? No, it's because they didn't want to include him in the manifestation of who the two people were that were running for president. It's exactly what's happening today with the Trump coverage. If I didn't like Trump, I'm going to give you another example. If I was anti-Trump and I ran CNN or MSNBC and I wanted to help people, I would say, here's the problems, here's how we're going to solve it, I got it covered. Yes, there's terrorists, but I got it covered. We got law enforcement on it, we got the military. Don't you worry if you do this or you're a baker or you work here. This is not your job. We got it covered. I'm the media. I'm going to keep you calm, cool, collected, grateful, connected with your community, showing you how to push out love into the world, push out good energy, push out optimism, and all these things that will shape the world collectively in the right direction. But almost virtually no media does it. And, some of it's conservative media, but I have to say the big culprit of it is like 75% liberal media, who is absolutely freaking out now, especially because Trump won. But they're pushing this energy out into the world that says, be fearful, be negative, be hateful, hate old people, elderly people who are poor are your enemy, this, that, but there's no solution. They're not saying, here's the problem, we got it covered, relax. They're changing the course of the world outside of even Trump. They're manifesting negativity. They're manifesting mass fear, mass pessimism, mass destruction onto the United States and onto the world. And why that's so costly is because it's not politicians who change the world. It's not Donald Trump. I'm not saying he's not having an impact on it, but it's not Donald Trump himself who's going to change the world. It's going to be the collective thoughts and actions of hundreds of millions of people. We literally control reality with our thoughts and our actions. Like, if Donald Trump never ran for office, he never had that thought and that action, he wouldn't do it. If people didn't support him. So when you have the media that is mass manipulating the mind outside of politics, it's a humanitarian crisis. So I understand what Malcolm X was talking about. He has two amazing quotes, regardless of what you think of Malcolm X. Two of my favorite quotes of all time are, roughly, the media controls the minds of the masses. They have the power to make the guilty look innocent and the innocent look guilty. And also they say, be careful when you read the newspapers. They will have you oppressing the people, that you should be loving, and loving the people that are oppressed. You know what I'm talking about. I posted it under here. I messed it up a little bit. But overall, they have the power to literally control people's minds. And that's my number one concern outside of even politics. I don't really even care that much about politics. People accuse me of this and that, whatever. I care about humanity. I care about society. I know how impactful the media is. For instance, they are trying to mass manipulate not only negativity, fear, pessimism, all of these bad ideologies onto the world constantly with no solution. They're also trying to break up the family, break up the man and woman, break up the man, all these things, because when you're alone and you hate your parents and you hate the elderly and you hate opposite genders of you, you're going to be alone. You're going to be a lot more isolated, and now you're much more easy to control. And when I say the media, it's not just CNN, it's not just MSNBC anymore, and Fox News, to be honest, although I find them a little more accurate now, they're also very fear-mongering and very negative. All my conservative and Republican friends are constantly freaking out all the time because they listen to Fox News. No disrespect to good people on Fox News, but there's a way to talk about the truth without making people so angry and negative and nasty. People are freaking out all the time because of how the media and social media portray stuff. And it's seeping into Snapchat and Twitter and Facebook and Google. You can't log into these platforms. You can't go anywhere on social media. It's a total trap. They don't tell you to love one another. They don't tell you to have conversations. They don't tell you it's not the end of the world. They do the exact opposite on a 24/7 loop. So the big crime here is not really what's happening. It's like another quote. It's not always what's happening. It's your perception of what's happening. If you can't control what's happening, the power is in controlling how you perceive and how you react to what's going on. That's the truth. It's in many religions and many spiritualities. It's really how you live a happy and successful life. You control your perception and you act accordingly. Most of the time, if you're smart, as calmly as possible, as fun as possible, not as negative and mean and angry. These are not good traits to have. We all get mad, but these are not things that you want to cling on to 24/7. So why is the mass media that controls the minds of hundreds of millions of people, that literally controls the pace of our society? Every morning, they control what we all think, what I think. I log into Twitter, there's the story, there's how they feel, here's the wrong interpretation of it, here's a nasty negative interpretation of it, so now conservatives are mad, liberals are mad. It's an absolute nightmare. These people, in my personal opinion, are humanitarian crisis deliverers of the highest order. So when Donald Trump, for instance, I don't use this terminology, it's not my terminology, it's not my mojo per se, but when Donald Trump says the fake news media is the enemy of the people, he's not lying. They really are the enemy of the people. I mean, if there was a person, and you said anomaly, there's one entity that constantly makes people angry, negative, they're feeding people cultural Marxism and far left, communist ideology that's led to the murder and bloodshed of millions of people. They've started wars on the Republican side, they've started wars on the Democrat side, they've gone to Syria and Libya and literally started wars, killed the leader, tried to kill the leader, displaced millions of people, destabilized Europe, lost an election in the United States, and now they're trying to destabilize the United States just like they did Syria and Libya. The media did that. They admittedly did that. They said, go to Libya, kill Gaddafi, do it. Go to Syria, we need to take it over from Bashar al-Assad, and now they're saying we need to take over Trump. And to people, I say, why do you think you're so special? They didn't care about the Syrian population. They didn't care about the Libyan population. They didn't care about the consequences of millions of lives. They don't care about Europe. Europe is tanking because of the destabilization of the Middle East and Africa and how they, handled it. So I asked my friends in the United States, liberal, progressive, conservative, Republican, If they do that to people over there, what makes you so special? What makes you think that they wouldn't do that here? And the really, unfortunate or fortunate answer is they will do it here. They are trying to do it here. They are the enemy of the people. In Trump's words, that's not my words, but it's hard for me to disagree looking at what they're doing. They're literally ruining everything. Like the opposite of what's good. You should spread love, you should spread positivity, you should spread safety, you should spread security, you should spread peace, you should respect people in the Middle East and Africa, you should respect people here, you should keep the family together, you should, love your elders. All of these things that I would tell you, they're like key for our society. They're key for American values, our Constitution, basic freedom, basic security, basic love, the qualities that everybody shares. Whether you go to any country, they love their family, they want to be safe, they want to have a good time, they want to enjoy their life. This is universal, regardless of your race, religion, and gender. This is human nature. The fake news media, the media complex that runs social media, they do the exact opposite of what I'm telling you. So it's hard for me to... I understand that tensions are rising. I'm not trying to make people mad, of course, but if there's a mainstream media journalist that's watching this, why do you spread fear? Why do you spread negativity? Why do you spread hate? Why do you spread division? Why do you spread identity politics? Why do you spread a failed ideology that's led to millions dead and displaced? Why do you put people constantly into panic? Why do you destroy everybody? If I'm a police officer, I don't run around to everybody's house and say, hey, freak out. We're going to lose it. We don't know what's going on. You're going to die. You don't do that as a police officer. If someone sees you, hey, what's going on, officer? Hey, there's people running around with guns, but we got it under control. We're the police officers. Don't you worry about it. Go inside. We'll keep you safe. That's what any sane police officer would do. So why is our media that's in control of politics and control of the mental perception of humanity, why are they doing the exact opposite of there? They're saying freak out, scream, hit each other, kick each other. Trump's ISIS, this is horrible, that's horrible, there's no way to solve it, climate change is destroying the world, don't invent something to solve it, don't do this, just panic and fear and crazy and do this and hate your neighbor and hate your elders and hate men and hate women and hate white people and hate your parents. They're literally pushing this sick, insane, twisted agenda. They're doing the exact opposite of what is good. And for that, I hope that God and karma holds them accountable to the highest order, because they are absolute tyrants of the highest order. Not because they're starting wars that killed millions of people, which they did, but every single day they burden humanity with the worst possible character traits blasted into everybody's face 24/7 to the point where you can't escape it. Liberals' tensions rising, conservatives' tension rising. Nobody's trying to solve it. Nobody's playing the middle ground. Nobody's trying to bring people together. And then on top of that, they sell you unhealthy food and pharmacy pills in the commercials. These are sick, psychopathic people at the high levels. I don't know any other way to put it. What else do you say to somebody who starts wars that displaced millions of people in Libya and Syria, tanked Europe? They're trying to destroy the United States of America the same way they destroyed Syria and Libya, and then they sell you pills and unhealthy food in the commercials, and we have an opioid epidemic that's killing tens of thousands of people, and we have a heart disease and a food epidemic where, although we're the greatest country in the world, we have the worst food in the world because we're run by sick, psychopathic tyrants in the media. I don't know any other way to put it. If the media stopped being the fake news, like Malcolm X and Trump said, although they're very different people, the world would get better very, very quickly. The wars would end because people would know what's going on. There would be accurate reporting, fair reporting, dialogue, discussion, what's really going on. They don't do that. So for this, I would say the truth about the media, while I would never, I would never say to cause violence on somebody. Never do that. You know what I'm saying? It's all love. That's what I'm preaching, love, passion. I'm saying this to, if there's any mainstream media people watching, I'm not weaponizing people against you. I'm doing the opposite. I'm telling people to love you. Love you so much that the love seeps into you, that you stop being so hateful and negative, because this is not a small impact that they're having on society. When I say something, I think about everything I say. I'm definitely not perfect, but I end everything with change yourself to change the world. I always say, have a good day. I try to have chill energy so people watch this. If they're angry, maybe they're less angry. If they're fearful, maybe they're less fearful. If they're feeling down, maybe they feel more up. If they're, pessimistic, maybe they feel more optimistic. I feel like I have somewhat of a duty to do that because I understand I have an influence on people. I reach millions of people weekly, and I have a small shift on society. Maybe a bigger shift than people even understand with some of the movements I've launched, maybe changed American culture forever, but with the help of millions of amazing people and also great leaders. But when it comes to the media, they control 10,000 times as much as me, 100,000 times as much as me. And not only are they not doing what I'm saying, they're doing the opposite. And then they're trying to silence and censor and control and destroy anybody that's like myself. I mean, luckily I haven't been under their wing yet, but they don't want anyone else to do anything but what they say. But what they say is wrong on all levels. It's wrong. Their foreign policy is wrong. Their domestic policy is wrong. Their psychology is wrong. Their philosophy is wrong. Their energy is wrong. Their spirituality is wrong. There's nothing right about what they're doing, and it's like a big vortex where they're freaking out all the time. It's like a mentally ill psychopath that just won't leave you alone. And that's what the media has been doing. So when Trump says things, it might sound mean and it might sound like he's ramping up tension. But once again, like with Donald Trump, he's not wrong. The media is one of the worst things that our society has right now. They're literally a drain on everybody every single day, and they constantly just make people the worst character traits that you wouldn't want. Malcolm X knew this. Donald Trump knows this. Millions of people are starting to wake up to know this. So all I'm saying in this segment is to really think about what I'm talking about, because obviously I'm telling you about families and love and like communities, which leans more right maybe politically, but even outside of politics, the media, their biggest crime is the fact that they control the minds of hundreds of millions of people. So if they can shift those negative, now people project their negativity that they learned via the media. That's what changes the world. It's not one person, it's not one leader, it's not one politician. It's the fact that they have mind control and psychological manipulation over hundreds of millions of people. So for instance, just to give you a quick example before I move on to the next story, all the people who hate Trump, if I ran CNN, I ran MSNBC, what I would say is, hey, go vote, we'll get him back next time. This isn't great, but to be honest, like 99% of their reporting on Trump is totally fake. It's totally inaccurate. It's totally hyper-sensationalized. None of the really terrible things that they say are going to happen, they're not going to happen. Almost all of their big narratives that freak people out, they're totally overhyped. What I would say is, hey, the climate change, the environment is hurting. But guess what? I wouldn't say freak out, the world's going to end, take these pills in the commercials. That's an evil thing to do. I would say, hey, go invent something. Go start a small business. Stop using plastic. Create a company that does this. Change the world, because as they're freaking everyone out for 10 years about climate change, one, I don't even want to get into that, but two, if it is so real, that's the big argument, then there's people working on it. There's MIT scientists who are creating carbon-sucking things that are like, these problems are going to be solved. We're not going to die. It's all going to work out, and you just wasted 10, 15 years complaining and freaking out. Hundreds of millions of people doing that has a huge negative impact on the world. You just spent 10 years while someone smart was inventing something. But the media, they're supposed to be the leaders. Not everybody is a winner. I'm not saying everyone's a loser, but not everyone's the scientist who can break away. So if I'm a leader of the mind, you got to lead. Everyone's not going to be able to figure this stuff out. You're influencing a lot of very malleable people. So if you tell them to freak out and don't do anything about it, you're not saving climate change. I would say, hey, if you don't like this about Trump, here's what you can do. Here, you could run for office. You could do this. You could do that. I would be optimistic even if I didn't like Trump, just like I was during the 8 years of Obama. I wasn't freaking out telling everybody everyone was going to die. I was telling people to work on yourself, create a business. Nothing they do makes any sort of sense. So I look at the people who follow them, and they've literally destroyed their mind and their soul to the point where their life is ruined. They've ruined millions of people's lives, literally. People are sitting there shaking, mad every day, upset every day. Do something. Start a business. Save the environment. Build something that cleans up plastic out of the ocean. If you really love, caravan families, go drive down to Honduras and go meet the caravan and talk to them. I don't know. Take action for whatever thing it is. You want to house a bunch of people? Build a mansion and house 1,000 refugees. I mean, do something. Nothing about the media is helpful. Nothing about it's accurate. Their biggest crime is controlling the minds of hundreds of millions of people and convincing them it's a good idea to manifest fear, anxiety, negativity, and hatred, thinking that that's going to change the world in a good direction. It does the opposite. A bigger impact than even Trump is the collective minds of hundreds of millions of people, and the media does absolutely nothing about it. And on that note, I wanted to say one more thing, but I'll probably just move on to the next one. Overall, the media needs to do a better job. If any media people are watching this, please manifest love, togetherness, try to bridge the gap, understand what people are talking about, because overall, the tension's never going to end as long as the media continues to do this, unless people tune out of it. I would never condone violence or harming anybody. That's the last thing you would want to do. But when it comes to, what Malcolm and Trump said, they're onto something, because it's like a complete invert of reality as far as what would be healthy and happy and optimistic for people. Even if you don't like Trump or you do like Trump, it's about what are you doing? And there's way too much hate in the world. And, I just wanted to talk about that since it was a slow news day.